When Mary Tyler Moore died in 2017 at age 80, it was too simple to just say that the actress carved a special place in our hearts because, to quote the lyrics from the theme song of her eponymous sitcom, she could turn the world on with her smile. Today, I will tell you 10 things you might not know about Mary Tyler Moore and show her rare photos. Her childhood wasn't rosy. Born in Brooklyn Heights, New York, Moore and her family moved to Los Angeles in the 1940s when she was 8 years old. Her father, George Tyler Moore, a clerk, was emotionally distant and unhappy. Her mother, Marjorie, was an alcoholic. A neighbor sexually abused her when she was just 6, per her 1996 memoir, After All. She had a lot of demons in her childhood, director Adolphus says. She had to shoulder that for the rest of her life. Friends, before I continue, I want to ask you to subscribe to my channel. My goal is to get 1,500 subscribers by my 60th birthday. Support me just by clicking on the subscribe button. It's not hard for you to do it, and it will be very pleasant for me. She was going to grow up to be on stage or in jail. The leggy and ultra-energetic brunette loved to dance from a young age, and she says in the doc that her grandpa once joked that she was going to grow up to be on stage or in jail. Her first TV job came soon after she graduated high school in 1955, when she played Happy Hot Point, a dancing elf in appliance commercials. The segments aired during the adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. The making of Laura Petrie. Moore was only 23 when she landed the role of capri pants-wearing housewife Laura Petrie on The Dick Van Dyke Show in 1961. But she was already married to 27-year-old salesman Dick Meeker and had given birth to her only child, Richard Meeker Jr., and though Van Dyke said that there was no hint she could do comedy, Moore proved to be the perfect foil for his TV writer character, Rob. The unmaking of Laura Petrie. After The Dick Van Dyke Show ended in 1966, Moore had to work hard to re-establish herself as a star. She played second fiddle to Julie Andrews in the 1967 musical film, Thoroughly Modern Millie. Her Broadway play, an adaptation of Breakfast at Tiffany's, was poorly received and closed quickly. She even played a nun-opposite Elvis Presley in the 1969 crime-drama-musical, Change of Habit. It wasn't until she reunited with Van Dyke in a 1969 TV variety special that TV honchos at CBS reawakened to her talents and offered her a series. Divorces in real life, but not on TV. Moore, of course, not only starred in the Mary Tyler Moore Show, she and her second husband, executive Grant Tinker, helped develop and produce it under their MTM Enterprises studio. Their original pitch, a recently divorced woman living it up on her own. But the powers that be insisted that Moore's character not be a divorcee, lest viewers believed that Laura Petrie had split from Rob. Tinker and Moore broke up in 1981. The turbulence around Ordinary People. While the award-winning drama Ordinary People should have been the highlight of her post-Mary Tyler Moore Show career, she was nominated for a Best Actress Oscar. Moore suffered an unspeakable tragedy just months after its release. Her son, Richard, died in October 1980 from what was later ruled an accidental gunshot wound. During filming, she was also dealing with her divorce from Tinker and the recent death of her sister. A new love in the making. Moore met her husband, Dr. Robert Levine, a New York-based cardiologist, in 1982 under unusual circumstances. Moore's mother fell ill after a trip to Paris, and Levine happened to examine her at his New York City hospital because their usual doctor was unavailable. Levine recalls that after he paid a house call a few days later and said to call him if there were any other problems, Moore cheekily asked if acute loneliness was a good reason to call. I said, I can't think of a better reason to be awakened at 3 a.m., he says. Sure enough, she phoned him a few nights later at the bewitching hour. I was in medical school when she was on TV, so I didn't have a sense of how famous she was, he says. I think that made her comfortable with me. There was no fan stuff in the middle. She battled a drinking problem. In the 80s, Moore admitted to having a drinking problem that had started when she was starring in The Dick Van Dyke Show. She entered the Betty Ford Center for treatment in 1984. Feeling she was too good for lowly tasks of cleaning and following rules, she got a taxi and headed to a hotel nearby. The following morning, the former First Lady herself called Moore and encouraged her to come back. She did. she struggled with diabetes for decades. Moore was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in 1969 after suffering a miscarriage. Doctors were unclear which medical issue caused the other. Adolpha says that per her 2010 memoir Growing Up Again, Life Loves and Oh Yeah, Diabetes, Moore used to drive around Los Angeles eating donuts despite its effect on her blood sugar. She would just punish herself, he says. Eventually, Moore began using her star power to support causes related to diabetes. She became chairwoman of the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation International, raising awareness and billions of dollars for the disease that she struggled with for several decades that eventually robbed her of her sight. She testified in front of Congress for funding for the disease and in support of stem cell research as a means of curing it. Levine has gone on to help launch and run the Mary Tyler Moore Vision Initiative, which seeks to preserve and restore vision in people living with diabetes via advanced research, treatment development, educational programs, and more. Mary was devastated by the impacts of the disease, but always looking onward so other people wouldn't have to suffer like she did, he says. We're trying to make her dream come true and honor her. She found peace in the country. In the final act of her life, Moore and Levine uprooted from NYC to a farm in upstate New York. We tried to find a place away from the city where we could enjoy the outdoors, Levine explains. This is where she could find her peace. The pair later moved to Connecticut. However, he reveals that even in her downtime, Moore rarely enjoyed basking in her iconic work. I had to push her to watch, so I mostly did it on my own, he says. She loved Dick and Carl, Reiner, and everyone associated with the Mary Tyler Moore Show was like family to her, but she liked to look forward. Mary Tyler Moore will stay in our hearts forever thanks to her amazing work and roles. Write in the comments what your favorite show starring Mary Tyler Moore is, and don't forget to subscribe. See you.